So I think we are good to start. So hello everyone. So first of all, thanks for joining us on this Saturday. First of all, I appreciate your interest to learn something new. So keep learning new things every day, and it would benefit for the upcoming days. So before starting into the session, so let me just give a small introduction about Talklify. So what is Talklify? Talklify is it's a technical community we found to just share and gain knowledge on Microsoft technologies. So we are doing events every month, second Saturday. So this month we missed it because of Diwali. But every month we do an event focused on a single technology. Like previous on previous month we focused on Xamarin, SQL, etc. Azure. This month we are focusing on .NET, mainly on .NET Core. Um, so Talklify is focused only on Microsoft technologies, and we also have a community for Angular called NG Kerala. So we also do events focused on Angular stack. So we have a separate community. We also do monthly one events based on Angular. So this is just a small introduction about Talklify. You can also visit our site talklify.com for the upcoming events, and also you can also know more about our NG Kerala community. So, so to move on to today's speakers, like we have two amazing speakers, Shobana and Menaka Basker. So Shobana will be speaking about how you can kickstart your career with .NET Core, followed by Menaka. Like she'll show us the architectural overview of .NET Core. It's a kind of 2 hour session. Like you can ask your questions at the end of the session. We'll just go through your questions and we'll see how we can answer it. Yeah, I think that's all about the introduction. So let's begin. So over to you, Shobana.
Hey guys, good morning to all. Have a good day. I'm Shobana Sundarajan, working as a junior software engineer, and I'm a Switch of Corner most valuable professional. So before getting started, I just want to thank Mr. Sundaram and Mr. Suhas for giving this wonderful opportunity to share my knowledge with you all. And I hope this webinar will definitely helpful for the .NET beginners. Okay, fine. So today my topic is kickstart your career with .NET Core. So I'm going to handle the basics of .NET Core. Today my agenda is overview of .NET. In this we are going to see what are all the .NET, what is .NET and its tools and what about its architecture. And then next what is .NET Core. So here can you get clear idea about what is .NET Core and how it's developed and its version and what kind of applications we are developing in this. And the next one is advantages of .NET Core. Here we are going to see the advantages of .NET Core and then architecture and its required tools and a little introduction about MVC. And I'm going to show you the project file structure. What are the files are required for the .NET Core and middleware. Finally, I will show a demo. Next, overview of .NET. Here, .NET is a framework developed by the Microsoft. It's a collection of programming executions. We can build console applications using this .NET. It's a platform dependent, so it only supports for Windows platform only. And we can use programming languages like C#, F#, and VB.NET to develop our software applications. Uh, Here, next .NET tools. To build an application using .NET, we need an IDE. So normally we develop an application using an IDE. Now IDE is nothing but everyone know it's the integrated development platform like text editor, Sublime Text, Dreamweaver, etc. So to work with .NET, we are using Visual Studio 2019, which supports all the .NET versions. Uh, as earlier, .NET VB.NET is used as a programming language, and in .NET, where C Sharp is introduced and then F Sharp, but still today, most of the developers are using C Sharp programming language because it's so user friendly. And the C Sharp latest version is 8. By next C Sharp, here in C Sharp we can develop cross-platform applications. Then next I'm going to .NET architecture. Here we can develop web applications. All the .NET applications are only the console applications. So we can develop web applications using ASP.NET, ADO.NET, and Windows controls. Uh, Common development tools here is Visual Studio.NET. And here we are using the common language runtimes, which is ELR, to compile. Next, the framework. This is the framework for how it works. Now we are going to enter in the today's section, what is .NET Core. Before that, I'm going to tell what is .NET Framework and what is .NET Core difference. Here it's an open source. So .NET Framework, it's the old framework which is mature enough, and many applications build using this framework. But in .NET Core, we can create cross cross-platform applications. .NET Core, it's a rebuild and recreate by the Microsoft and .NET community and then header. The major difference between these two is .NET Core is open source. Since last many years, .NET leaders and enthusiasts are talking about .NET should be the open source. So Microsoft launched the .NET Core as a open source. It means we can download the .NET Core and we can make changes in that code, and we can participate in the .NET community and GitHub also. In .NET Framework, which we are currently using in open source, we are having to pre-built library provided by the Microsoft. So this is the major difference between these two. And one of the major differences, .NET Framework is created only for Windows. So whatever the applications are created in this framework can be published on only the Windows platform. And it only runs on only Windows operating system. Any applications can be in .NET Core. Any application can be built in .NET Core. That is platform, whether it is a Windows operating system, Linux, or Mac. So it's a platform independent, and it has all the ASP.NET components. In .NET Framework, we have all the ASP components like ASP.NET Web Forms and ASP.NET MVC, ASP.NET API, and WPF, WCF, etc. But in .NET Core, we are having only two components. They are only one ASP.NET Core and UWA. UWA, which represents the Universal Windows Applications. And next, in .NET Framework, it has the monolithic library. Whenever we are going to develop or public our application, so we have to install the complete library in the client side. But in .NET Core, it is modular libraries collection. So the framework library is divided into multiple models, So on the basis of requirement, we can use those libraries to develop our application, and it's a major difference between these two. Next. So already, as I said, this is the .NET Core. As I have given the introduction in this, and these are all the advantages of .NET Core. So as I said before, this is a SaaS platform, full control with increased performance. It means we can define the pipeline in this, and supports for all the standard .NET frameworks, and it's a open source. In .NET Core, ASP.NET Core contains two types. There are Razor pages and ASP applications. Razor pages means which is the one type of creating the web applications, and it's a single page applications. It's new in .NET Core, and it's a inbuilt in Visual Studio 2019. Whenever you're creating a single page application, just give it as a for application, then all the libraries will available to you. Then next, it's a frame architecture. Normally in .NET framework, Windows Forms, we develop Windows applications using Windows Forms and ASP.NET. All the ASP.NET applications are only the console applications because it run only in Windows platform. Then next, in .NET Core, it's a universal apps. We can develop cross platforms like cloud-based apps and mobile apps, web apps, etc. And it's a Xamarin for mobile apps. It it have the common CLR to compile. Next, ASP.NET Core. ASP, which stands for Active Server Page. In ASP.NET Core, it provides to allow creation and deployment and execution of web applications and web services. In this, complete object model are separated as code and UI. So it maintains the page static and session management, caching and debugging, and extensibility, etc. So here next we are going to see ASP.NET architecture. Normally in ASP.NET architecture, a browser which sends the request, it supports IIS. IIS, which is Internet Information Service. It's an extensible web server software which is created by Microsoft, and it supports for HTTP, SMTP, FTP, like this. So it accepts the request and it sends to the app, but separate specific app, and your application will work. It's ASP.NET Core application. Here, ASP.NET Core architecture, it directly sends to the Kestrel. Here, it's a new, in this Kestrel is a new inbuilt server. It will install automatically in your web server. You may ask, is Kestrel replaced IIS? No, it's not replaced. It will work equal to the IIS. But in this, there may occur some problem like load balancing and plugins and all. So to solve these problems, we are using the reverse proxy method, which is browser directly sends the request to IIS. IIS are going to send the request to Kestrel, then the application or uh, send the request to the end user. So model view, next we are going to see the model view controller. Here in model view controller, uh, model contains the details of objects, which is are all the data are managed in model. In view, it mostly passive presentations of application state. It contains all the details of UI like HTML, CSS, JS, and Bootstrap like this. And then controller, it controls both the model and view. So this is about MVC. Next, I'm going to show you the project file structure. Before that, I will show you the demo. Here we are going to create a new project to work with. Before that, to work with .NET Core, we need Visual Studio 2019. So kindly install it, and I'm going to create a new project. Here I'm going to select ASP.NET Web Application. I'm going to new the project name as my first web application, my first web. Okay. My solution name is also my first web. Solution name represents our output. I'm going to create this project. In this, we are going to develop a web application. So I'm selecting the web application and then create. So our project has been created. Now I'm going to tell you the project file structures. Here the www root is the folder which contains all the static contents like HTML, CSS, JS, and like Bootstrap, etc. So this will be your application folder, web application folder, and and the pages folder represents. It contains the Racer pages and the MVC life cycles like this. Next, app setting.json. So before in .NET Framework, we have used web.config file, but in .NET Core, it replaces the app setting.json. Nothing is difference between this. Both are same, but the name is different here. App setting.json. As I said before, all the ASP.NET web applications are console applications. So next, program.cs and startup.cs. These two are the this program.cs will be your entry point for your web application. Here, before explaining these two, I must say in earlier ASP.NET web forms we use global.asx file. Uh, in the startup init, application init, and solution section init, and on start like that. There in that files we are going to code there. But in this .NET Core, this programming.cs file will be our entry point. Here the CS represents the C# extension. So these are the C# built by using the C#. In Java, we mention the class as a package, but here its name as the namespace. So this is my first web is our application name. Then next in starter. In startup, there are two main classes available. One is configure service and another one is configure. This configure service represents the pipeline. What are all the services we are going to add in this? This is the add page, service.add razor page. It represents the MVC. Next in configure, this is the mandatory class in startup.cs. It represents what all the HTTP request we need in our pipeline. So for this, it uses the app.use static files. So this is going to app.static file. So this is going to uh, handle our static pages like HTML, CSS, like this. So so these are all the file structures as I said. www.I said this is a web application folder which contains all the static contents like HTML, CSS, and JS. In program CSS, it's a gateway. Uh, gateway, which means we can say it's the entry point for our web application. And in startup, we have seen two classes that are configure services and configure. This configure service are used to add the services in pipeline. So in .NET framework, um, we are not defining our MVC, but in .NET Core we can define our pipeline how it how it can uh, work. We can define the sequence of process of our web application. In configure, we can add the HTTP request pipelines as it is. And next, the app setting.cs. It's used to store or configure the environment related settings. In this, we can add what are all the files. Next, this is the middleware. It's a component. Uh, Middleware is nothing but it's a component which requires the pipeline. Whether which request is to pass to the first and its sequence. I will show you in the diagrammatic representation. Once a browser gives a request in pipeline, it goes to the first middleware. Middleware is nothing but our first request. It first goes to the middleware and then it process the request and give it as a response. In case we have given more than one middleware, it moves to the second process at logic. It performs the logic and then it moves to the third middleware. It performs the logic and it gives the request to the step by step and finally it moves to the end user. So these are all the basics of .NET. I will show you how to create the console application in this. I'm going to here file new, going to create a new project, console application. I'm going to create the console application now. So I'm selecting the console app.NET Core application. Here my project name is console app 1 and my solution name is also console app 1. In default, they have given console.write has hello world. It's a default program. Here the console.write line is a C sharp. Write line is to uh, read. Here I'm going to put slash n plus any key to exit. And I'm going to console.read key. Now I'm going to run this. So we have got our console application output. Here's the hello world. Press any key to exit. So we have developed our console application. Next, I'm going to tell you how to create a web application. For that, I'm going to create a new project. So I'm selecting here ASP.NET Core Web Application and then select next. Here my project name is Web Application 2 and my solution name is Web Application 2. I'm giving next to create, selecting the web application. In program.cs, in the pages I'm going to handle the static page. So I'm adding one HTML page, selecting the new item. I'm going to add HTML page. So here I have added HTML page.html. This is our static page. In this, we can see the basic structure of HTML page. Here I am going to give an one heading. Welcome to ASP.NET web application. I'm going to run this. So this is the basic file structure, and we have output of welcome page. This will be your output as a web application. So I'm going to close this. So we'll see what role we have done. So here we have done the overview of .NET and .NET Core, and I showed a demo. Then .NET tools. What is the .NET tools? We use Visual Studio 2019 and in C Sharp. C Sharp is a really user-friendly language. It contains it because of its compatibility and flexibility. Then it's the .NET Core architecture. I'm showing this just for your reference. Okay, that's all about my session.
Okay, so thanks,
If you have
Shobana. I
any
think
doubt, you can ask. Yes.
yeah, thanks, Shobana. I think that was a good session about the overview of .NET Core. So maybe we'll wait for a couple of minutes if there are any questions.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so I think there are no questions. Like, if you have any questions, guys, like you can reach out to her using this Twitter handle, Shobana underscore Sundar one. Like, you can reach out to her if you have any doubts regarding .NET Core. Yeah. So thanks, Shobana. So thanks for your session.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so hi, Menaka. Are you there?
Yeah, I am there.
Okay. So I think we shall start, right? We are good to
Yes,
start your. Okay.
yes.
Okay, so you can share your screen, Menaka.
Be able to see.
Yeah, I'm able to see your screen.
Okay.
You can click hide and
Ah, yes. Is it okay?
yeah,
Let me stop or should I continue with this screen
yeah,
sharing?
you can. Yeah, you can start.
Okay. So today's session is all about architectural overview of .NET Core. The thing is, like already Shobana discussed the futures and other facilities that .NET Core carries. So in turn, today we are going to see some in-depth what is in .NET Core. So that's what I'm going to explain today. From the beginning, I want to insist a single point like why we need .NET Core, why not .NET Framework. So we will see these futures and difference in the view of architecture for both .NET Framework and .NET Core. And after that, what are the special capabilities that .NET Core handles? For example, if we have .NET Framework like PCL is there, if we're going with the .NET Core, .NET Standard is like there. So a lot of things have added to the .NET Core. There are the special features that been added to .NET Core. So we are going to discuss what all are the features that been added to .NET Core and how it makes our work easier whenever we are doing deployment activities or other activities to run in multiple platforms. So these are the concepts we are going to discuss in today's session. So before getting into that, I'm just want to introduce myself. I'm Menaka Basker Pillai. I'm working as a software engineer, and this is my medium where you can contact me for any doubts and clarification. So why I'm going with .NET framework and again to .NET Core? What is the lapse between these two? The first thing is like whenever we are going to learn about some technology which is already bounded with one of the technology, we need to learn about the drawbacks of the particular technology which is already bounded. So for that case, we need to learn about .NET framework architecture. After that, the architectural basis, how in the back end it works. For example, it's a CTS or CLR. In this basis, how they both are differentiated. After that, the major differentiation, like it's a platform oriented, or what all are the futures that are visible to the developer as well as to the business end clients, we can differentiate the .NET framework and .NET Core. And after that, we are going to see what exactly .NET Core, how they are helping us a lot in developing our activities, and what all are the special capabilities that holds, for example, .NET Standard and other things. And at the end, we are going to see the complete spatial view of .NET Core as well as .NET Framework. So in this all over session, that is around 1 hour session, I just want to be like the real time example and use cases so that makes a better understanding of the particular concept. For example, if I am developing a microservice architecture application, so I have a concept like I can go with .NET Framework or .NET Core. This is a common question as a developer we will stand after our business requirements holds like we need to develop either in a .NET Framework or .NET Core. So in this case, what the decision we can take? So for example, we cannot say everywhere we can use .NET Core based on the architecture. At the same time, we don't need to get into trouble by choosing a .NET Framework. So to make these two things common, we need to have a common understanding of what .NET Framework does, what .NET Core does in the architectural basis. For example, I have a third-party library that needs to support my application that is running. In these cases, there is no other option. I need to develop my application in .NET Framework because .NET Core does not support. In some cases, my application need to work on every OS independent of platform. So in these cases, no other option. I need to go with .NET Core. So choosing the framework or .NET Core is completely depends on the business requirement and the additional feature you are going to empower. So the architectural basis and other information that related to the framework is very important of choosing which platform we need to develop something, because once it is developed it's very hard to migrate that application to the higher standard or other standard, because this .NET framework and code is a complete rewrite, so there is no versioning also. We cannot say like this is .NET framework 5 to .NET core because of this complexity. So that is the reason understanding the architectural view is very, very important whenever we are starting developing an application. The other thing I want to make sure is lot of things we are doing in cloud, because in recent time the on-premise is disappearing. Even if it is an on-premise environmental application, we are migrating that to cloud. So make sure which framework that supports your migration or that makes you to work easier with the cloud. So choosing the architecture is very, very important in this case. So migrating activity or other activity that need to be done with the cloud, which platform helps you to work better. So this is a second one you need to consider whenever you are started working with a framework or core. So based on that, you need to choose either core or framework, because there are a lot of things that been changed with the cloud connection. For example, zip configure is there, and here it's this upsetting.json. So you need to use other principles like environmental variables, where you need to use the key and other things in Azure Wallet. So this kind of activities is quite complex with whenever we are going without the knowledge of architecture. So understanding the architecture is very, very important for working with the cloud. This is the second thing we need to understand. And third most and important thing why we need the architectural understanding is, for example, I have an application that is already in a monolithic architecture. I just called my new developer to work on the application. He is something new to the team. He don't have proper understanding of code structure. Then it will put me in a risk, definitely, because monolithic architecture is a completely a package application where you cannot able to find out whenever the issue occurs at a particular point. At the same time, the complexity of the architecture makes the new one difficult to understand the particular application, and it takes long time to understand how the application works on background. So this is one of the drawback of monolithic. Whenever we are going with the microservice, yes, it's quite good to use because the services are independent to each other, and other services which is get failures also not affecting the particular service which is independent. So in this case, I don't want to wait for the particular issue to get fixed to make my entire application to work, as well as whenever a new developer comes into the team, he can able to distinguish, oh, this is a product service, this works this like this. This is a other service, this works like this. So the differentiation and better understanding of the new developer, everything with microservice. But what here does is we cannot say everything we can work on microservice, because working with monolithic architecture is simple as compared to that of microservice architecture, but the performance wise the microservice beats everything as the first compared to the onion architecture or any architecture. The reason behind here is the architecture differentiation. For example, if we have the monolithic architecture, why I'm saying working with monolithic architecture is different, we don't need to establish the communication between two services. We don't need to write extra code to establish the communication. Either it's a synchronized or asynchronous communication via your gRPC or REST API or whatever the Azure service. At the same time, the complexity of code is getting reduced in a monolithic architecture. So this is the main drawback of microservice. And another important most thing that we can able to say that monolithic architecture is okay, fine to work with this, the way we writing the code is completely different for the monolithic and the microservice architecture. I can able to define my code by the particular activity, what it need to does by simply writing the code. I don't need to bother about the dependency of other services. So this is the main advantage of the monolithic architecture. If we are going with the microservice, we need to define each and everything because everything are dependent to each other via code. Even though the services are independent, but the code is interlinked to each other. So you need to use your potential knowledge to write the code in microservice architecture. So here also, based on the requirement and other need, choose the architecture wisely. Either it's a framework or .NET Core. The both the things depends on the one case. What all are the things it support? For example, third-party library, we need to go with framework. For example, it need to run on all the OS, we need to go with core. So the base of choosing the framework or code depends upon your business requirement and other thing you are going to add it. So from my knowledge, now whatever you are doing with a microservice or all other things, we are doing in a .NET Core because of its ease of use compared to that of .NET Framework. The folders, files, structure, everything are get reduced to a short span. So in a short span, so the large complexity of understanding the folder structure and how to work and other things will get ease because of working with the .NET Core. So these all are the things what we are going to discuss today, so that I can make a better understanding before getting into the topic. So we can able to predict how, in what basis it works on the business requirement. So framework architecture. If you see the framework architecture, there are two major components. They are the common language runtime and the class library. So the class library is nothing but a base class library. So everything like BCL will have .NET Framework 4 will have the BCL. So it's not up to the class library, but the common architectural view how they both are differentiate and how .NET Core is leads .NET Framework. That's what we are going to see. You see the common language runtime. It is an execution engine that handles your running application. So it holds the threat management, garbage collection, type safety, and exception handling, and more. So without the engine, a bike cannot work. So the complete architecture, this is one of the base which makes your application to work fine with the platform. So another thing is a class library. It provides a set of API and that types of for common functionality. It provides type for a string, date, number, etc. The type of data type you want to use, the type of views you need to set. So all the things, because for example, I cannot declare some language code in some platform. I choose the C sharp and I'm writing my code in VB.NET and I don't think so it will work because of this class library. For this particular functionality, this is how it need to react. For this particular code, this is how it need to react. So this is what the class library does in this framework architecture. So this is a all-over framework architecture. If you have a C# code or it is an F# code or a Visual Basic code, there will be the language compiler which will compile your language code, and after that it will be converted into the common intermediate language. Once it is done, the CLR does its action and it makes into the machine code. This is how it makes to a computer to understand what you're exactly entering into a screen. So this is the architecture of .NET framework. Let's see how cool .NET Core works on another hand. So other things like CLR, what it is, main component that the CLR holds. This is a engine, so it needs to assist all other features like thread handling or type safety, everything. So it needs some other assist to do the functions inside this framework. So there is a common language specification and common type system, garbage collection, and just-in-time compiler. So all as a package, the CLR works as a master. This is how it works. So the common language specification, common type system or nearby is same only. We cannot say they both are same, but yeah, for an understanding, we can say they are similar to each other. For example, I want to declare a variable for a particular language using particular declaration. So these are the rules and how I need to define the particular language in the particular framework. So those activities can be handled by means of these both. So the garbage collection is also similar to this is something related to memory, and we can able to do all other activities like compilation activity. So converting the intermediate language to the machine code. So all those activities can be done by means of JIT. This is just-in-time compiler. So this is how my common language runtime work as and together as an engine. So I will have my source code and my source code will get compiled to my by means of my language compiler into the machine intermediate language. After once it is done, my just-in compiler will make my walk to my native code. So this is the common language runtime using a .NET framework class library. So all together, we've been seeing this for .NET framework. Let's see for a .NET for how it works. So what are the benefits of common language runtime, the CLR activity? It improves the performance by providing a rich intranet between programs at runtime. It enhances the portability by removing the need of recompiling. So this is main point. So recompiling activity is removed. So the objective is clear. So this is why we call it as a engine. So it supports the automatic memory management with the help of a garbage collector. It provides the cross-language integration because CTS inside CLR provide a common standard that activates the different language to extend. So the language-based compilation, so the CTS defines the cross-language function. So this is how they both together works. It provides the support to use a component that developed in other programming languages. So I can able to work with any other language inside my framework. So that's cool. What does the CLR do in the framework? So what this framework and code being differentiated? If you see, .NET Core is a cross-platform and it runs on the Linux, Mac, and Windows. For example, what we're going to see in the further topics regarding to standard and PCL, portable class library, the same thing will be the differentiation. Whatever you have together with your .NET Core will support the following things. So whatever we have with the .NET framework will have this as a drawback. So to rectify the drawback, the something will come as a new thing. So for PCL, how .NET standard come? Same like .NET framework, .NET Core came into existence. So .NET Core is an open source and accepts the contribution from the community. .NET Framework source code is available but does not take direct contribution. This is one of the important points. The majority of .NET innovation happens in the .NET Core. So I can say it's a complete rewrite of .NET Framework. So .NET Framework is included in Windows and automatically updated machine-wide by Windows Update. So .NET Core is shipped independently, so I can able to do my microservice architecture easily whenever it comes to the deployment, either in a Kubernetes or Fabrics everywhere, because it can be shipped independently whenever I'm doing my Docker image or building and publishing an image. The independent activity of .NET Core makes me to work better with my microservice. So as I said before, whenever we are going to work with microservice architecture, then please go with the .NET Core. because it has this future that makes the works of doing package easier. So what is .NET Core? Here comes the real hero of this today's session. Like there are millions of developer use or have used the ASP.NET 4.x to create web apps. So whenever we are starting our career, because if we pause back 2 years, we have the extent of the ASP.NET. At the same time, we do have the ASP.NET Core also. But at the time, it is very less, comparatively less of using .NET Core because it's where that get generated. So nowadays, whenever we are starting a new project or whenever we are going to create a complete new project, we are going with the .NET Core. Because after 3.1 release, the .NET Core reaches its axis by means of the greater helpfulness to the developer end as well as to the business end as well as to the functional end. Because of its telemetric approach and other feature makes it to work in today's environment as one of the important framework to work. So the ASP.NET Core is a redesign of ASP.NET 4.x, including the architectural changes that result in a leaner and more modular framework. It has an ability to run on Windows, Mac, and Linux, so it's a platform independent and it's an open source and a community focus. So you can use without paying, as well as its integration of modern client-side framework, development workflows. So Blazor comes into an action and other features you can able to integrate easily without having any cost issues. So what is .NET Core as we discussed? So they are the basic things we already discussed. So from the architectural view, what all are the things it have? It have support for hosting the remote procedure called RPC using gRPC, and without gRPC we cannot imagine a microservice. So because of this future, I said choose ASP.NET Core whenever you want to have your architecture as a microservice because of this future. A cloud-ready, environment-based configuration system. So this is also the second point what I mentioned before. Whenever you have a cloud-based, you want to create a cloud-based application and you are stuck to choose either it's a .NET framework or .NET Core, then choose .NET Core because it has a cloud-ready as well as environment-based configuration, built-in dependency injection, and then there is no use of creating a new objects everywhere whenever I want to use a class. I can easily use dependency injection and I can able to pass it in a constructor base and I can able to inject the features of the class in my another class without creating a new object or without changing everywhere. It is a lightweight, high performance and modular HTTP request pipeline. It has the ability to host on the following, for example, IIS there, HTTP.s is there, engine is there, and Apache Docker is there. And other thing, Kestrel also there. So even though it's a proxy server, you can able to enjoy the future of Kestrel also. That is also one of the ability to host on the following things. So basics of .NET Core, as mentioned, it has a startup class. All the services required by that app are configured in your startup class. So startup is a vein of your entire .NET Core. So it have all the services that your app need in in that place. The app request handling pipeline is defined as a series of middleware components. So either it is a configure method or configure service method. It both handles your middleware. The first method will handles your services required by your app, and the second method in your startup handles your middleware pipeline, all those things in a particular view. So this is the one of the way that need the entire application to work as expected. So this is one of the important class that we need to discuss as a architecture. So what all are the things we can do in our startup class? So as I said, it is a vein. So every major things, whatever we will need to do can be done from here. It may be a dependency injection, middleware registration, or hosting, servers configuration, as well as routing. Either I want to route my controller after that ID or something. I need to do the routing activities and error handling, exception handling, content route, as well as web route. So this is together makes our startup class as a hero of the entire .NET Core architecture. So .NET Standard, why I came to .NET Standard without discussing other features like app setting.json, or there are a lot of www root is there. So I can discuss that. Yes, I will do a demo so that I could make that to get a better understanding. So before getting navigated to demo session, I just want to make sure the .NET Standard, which is also the replacement of PCS, that's a portable class library. So if you see, it is the original implementation of .NET. It supports running website services, desktop apps, and more on Windows. The same thing for .NET Core is a cross-platform implementation for running your website service console apps. If you're going with a Xamarin or Mono, it's a .NET implementation for all mobile operating system, including your iOS and Android. This all together, the .NET standard supports. So it's quite interesting. So what does exactly this .NET standard do from the end of supporting this all? If you see with the portable class library, there is a problem similar to that of the .NET framework. The platform independency is not there. So to get that replace, we have .NET standard that comes into an action. You see, there is app model, either it's a .NET framework or .NET Core or a Xamarin. So it is a formal specification of API that are common across the .NET implementation. This allows the same code and libraries to run in the different implementation. This all together have one library to rule them all. So it have the common infrastructure that contains the compilers, languages, as well as the runtime components. That makes the work easier. So I can able to port my particular class or something to any of these three, and I can able to work without the need of recreating the specified thing. So that's how the standard works. So this is also one of the important things. So when to use .NET framework based on our requirement. So instead of migration, your app currently is .NET framework. It is recommended to use the framework, as I said before. And if you have a third-party library like or Nugget not available for .NET Core, so you need to go blindly with the .NET framework. Your app uses .NET technology that are not available for .NET framework. For example, we had a project like bot framework. We thought like it ends in framework, so it will support only framework. Same. In that case, as if you've been confused or either to choose a framework or core, and based on the what framework, okay, it will support only the framework. No, it's not like that. In some cases, the name will be differentiated. That not means it will support only the framework. So specification is matters. Either try with a core, and if it not works, in some cases there is some hit and trial need to be done to make our application performance-wise best. You can do a trial and error method also. So your app uses a platform that does not support .NET Core. So those all are the major things you need to take into consideration why you need to use .NET framework, why not .NET Core. So why when to use a .NET Core? It's a cross-platform need. Forever if you have any cross-platform that need to be accessed to your application, so you need to go with your .NET Core. And the main thing is like a microservice architecture, as I said, it have the packaging features. Whenever you want to create an application using the architecture of microservice, kindly go with my .NET Core, because from the build to deployment, it supports variety of inbuilt features that makes your work easier because of the gRPC and other deployment activities in a DevOps end also. You don't need to worry or bother about lot whenever you are doing the containerization or even if you are going with the Docker or Azure Container Registry. So that makes you to work cool with microservice architecture. As I said, containerization, so container comes. It have a high performance as well as a scalable system. It have the side-by-side .NET version per application level. So you don't need to bother about your core as well as your framework. It has side-by-side representation. So version controlling is also there. You can go with .NET Core. So let me show the demo of how it works. So this is the architecture basis of a simple it's a uniservice application where I don't have multiple service. It's a single service for a demo. This is a complete application looks for my .NET Core. You can imagine what all other things if you have if you are a .NET developer as a .NET framework, you will have a lot of folder structure and there will be lot of definitions and there are not that much folder structure, so that makes it look cool whenever it is small. That makes us our brain to work well whenever we small something. So this is how the architecture basis of our .NET Core. So let me explain one by one because I said I will explain in my demo. So let's see about startup class. So this is where all my services been there. It contained the two method, that is configure service as well as configure. So this is where I need to add my services. So for example, I want to do the dependency injection. So I want to register the particular class, either it's a singleton or a transient or scope based on the lifetime cycle. So obviously I need to declare or register the particular class here. In case of DB contest, it will be automatically created either by means of DB first approach or port first approach. It will create the table in because of the scaffolding. At the time, I need to make use of my DB context class. I have no other option. I need to do the service adding here so that I can make my DB context available for all my classes. So this is a place you can say you need to register the service so that you can able make it available to everywhere. So this is one of the methods that the startup class have. The another method deals with the pipelining and middleware activity. So it contains the routing, authorization, endpoints, everything. So this is where you can able to route your particular things. For example, I want my routing to be performed in this way. I want this controller to be called first, or the particular view need to be displayed first when I am loading the application. So all these things can be the middleware registry, the pipelining activity need to be done here. So this two method is what does the startup holds on. So if you want to register or if you want to make your application to execute in a particular way, you need to be clear of these two methods to where to register and how to execute your application based on the particular execution. So what does my program.cs? So it is like a package. It's like it's hold all together like IAS. All the things you have in a startup can be hold together as a package in your program.cs. So it contains the hosting mechanism that need to be done for your application. So hosting means I need all this together to be built as a package to get hosted. So it is the where your application hosting mechanism will be built. So app setting.json. If you have if you've been already been working .NET framework, you'll be aware of web.configure, where we used to declare our configuration items, for example, a database item, by using a tag of app settings. So to make our work easier, this is one of the features I can able to declare it in the JSON format, and then I can able to use by registering that in my service. Once it is get registered, I can able to use a particular for example, it's a connection string or anything. If you are going with a microservice architecture, you need to create the same thing for oscillate.json and you need to do the upstream and downstream activity. In that case also, this .json makes your work easier by means of employing the particular, um, for example, blob storage or anything in your class directly without incorporating lot of codes and everything. So this makes your work easier. But for a test as well as for a QA purpose, declaring your uh, things that is very secret here is good. But whenever you are going for a production, don't do that because you have the environmental variable or kindly use Azure Key Wallet to do those activities. This is where you can hold your connection string cool if you are working with your QA or test environment. So you can define either it is for a development or production by means of choosing development.json product or production.json like that. So it has, so this is my view folder. It will have a default view and other things. This is like quite common. View folders and controller folders will be quite common. So we don't need to bother about this three folder because this is a base folder. So we will be aware of that. So web.root. So this is something important because whenever we have doing something with our TypeScript or JavaScript or libraries, images, or if you have Liffy icons, so all these need to be holded on some places so that will be readily available for your application because your application is not running from your local. So this is the place where it holds all the dependencies like images or other features where you can write a CS or JSTS. So everything can be on hold here. Once it is done, you can see the properties window. It have the launch settings.json. Launch setting.json is nothing but what is your current framework you are working on. For example, if you have something like my application URL is my localhost URL is this and my environmental is this. So I can able to define this by means of my launch setting.json. This is one of the important thing. I can have all the things regarding my application, authentication, everything here. So the project localhost and the project environment as well as my settings, other settings like a URL, application URL, and command name. So these all are the futures. If I want to understand my application, how it works. So I need to go through my launch setting.json to get better knowledge. So once it is done, I have the dependencies there. So if you see here, the dependency will have the analyzer, framework, packages. These all are the packages that I'm doing either via my budget or if I'm going with NPM also. So all the dependency packages, frameworks, as well as the analyzers that can be seen from here. So this is one of the coolest thing here. Whatever I'm installing, what all are the versions there? For example, if I am using a Bootstrap that is in an older version, so I need to check whether what version the particular NuGet is working. So does I need to update my NuGet to some other thing? So all the things I can able to view from here. So this is where all my packages that is dependent for this application will be hold on. And other future, this is the framework. So I need to show you something. If you see here, this is what I added as a singleton. So this is a class I'm added as a singleton in the particular service. So as I said, this is a place where my dependency injection started to extend. So I'm going to see the blob. This is a class. This is a particular class which I registered as a singleton. So this class I can able to use in any other class by means of declaring it a local read-only variable and accessing the particular by means of constructor. So this is a place how the dependency injection works with the .NET Core application. So I don't need to create every time a new object for accessing this class. So this is one of the kind to handle the memory. So other things that related with the dependency injection, for example, you don't need to change the variable every time whenever the variable is getting changed. So for example, if you declare something and the next time your variable need to be changed, you cannot go back to your model class and change all the variables. So here, by means of dependency, it will clears out. The first action is completed. So the second time you don't need to depend on your model class. So it's independent to each other, and that's what it is called as a dependency injection on the basis of container IOC. So once it is done, you can able to view here other things. For example, we go to the controller. So I declare the particular class by means of read only. Then I use the controller based dependency injection. So I'm declaring that. So I can able to access all the methods in my blob class by declaring by normal, by creating a dot as well as we can call the method by means of that. So this is how it works with a dependency injection. You can able to see blob.index.file. I'm calling that index method of the blob without creating a new object. So this looks cool. So this is how the basic architecture of .NET Core deals with. In some cases, if you want to examine more, want to see some other futures. Okay, I'm already aware of those all those things. I want to see something new. So, if there is anything I can able to see, yes, you can do. You can have the test explorer. It will take some time to load. You can able to write n unit cases and other things easily, as well as this is one of the important architectural overview. So you can able to do that testing activities. For example, if you are writing a n unit test cases or other test cases, it's quite easy for to be bound with your application. You don't need to do from separate framework or separate things. So that's been cool. And other things like you can able to these are all the common things that you've been optimized for your .NET framework as well as .NET Core. But something here is like a data lake, so you can able to use this. Publishing is also quite easy. Whenever you are going with this, you have the published blob storage via this. And other things like I just go to here. I'm viewing my Cloud Explorer. So this makes me to work cooler with my cloud. As I said before, whenever you have a cloud need to be work, you just go with the .NET Core because it has a Cloud Explorer. So that makes to work easier with the .NET Core. So it will take some time to load. You can view your storage accounts, and you can use the services that you for the particular mail id you are bounded with, because the Visual Studio as well as here need to be bounded together. So by here you can for example, it's a blob storage. After going or navigating back to my Azure portal and checking whether the file upload is working or not, I can check from here from my platform itself. I don't need to go to Azure back to my browser back in and pro. So this is one of the quite coolest thing that you need to explore in a .NET Core architecture. You can able to choose this Cloud Explorer, and you can able to choose the app service plan or what all are the things that been available in your name. So for example, if these all are the things, these all are the, for the particular subscription, these all are the things I have. So I can able to see either if I am working with the Cosmos DB, I can able to view by if I want to add anything in the container, or if I want to check anything in the container after my code works, I can able to view from here. So this is one of the quite coolest future. That's what I said. If you want to work with the cloud, go with the .NET Core. This makes your works easier. And other thing like which I want to show is like wait debugging. Telemetry support. Application insight and telemetry support is there. So this is available for both your .NET framework as well as .NET Core. But what it is differentiated with your .NET Core is the monitoring as well as the other features of Azure integration. For example, if you want to do any chatbot or other application where you need to detect the user credential, after that you are permitting the user to get into your application. In this cases, a monitoring and other integration of logging need to be done. So for that cases, that insights are very easy. So you can able to connect from here by registering here. So it will have a lot of features, inbuilt features. So you can able to search and analyze in your telemetry in your VS, as well as there is a smart detection. So this makes to work cooler with your application insights. So together, application insights with monitor will make your application in high-end proficiency. So this is one of the important architecture that you need to understand when you are working in a .NET Core. And that's what the reason I said if you have a .NET Core, if you have a microservice requirement or if you have a cloud-based requirement, blindly go with .NET Core unless until you have a third-party library that need to assist for your application. Now this being supported by .NET framework that is not this much extent. So that is the reason .NET Core is growing today. So this is like it makes quite little time. So you can see this in my Azure portal as well. So other features been inbuilt together, so I can able to understand my application inside and features and everything by means of the web portal. So I think I covered maximum today about the .NET Core architecture. Still, there are a lot of things to explore in .NET architecture. If you have any doubt regarding this, you can ask me.
Um, okay, Shona, sorry, okay, Menaka, I think that was a good session. So let's wait for a couple of minutes if there are any questions.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so I think there are no questions. So yeah, thanks, Menaka, once again. I think that was a good overview of the architecture of .NET Core. So thanks for the session.
Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah,
Bye bye.
yeah, bye, Menaka. So okay, so let me share my screen, guys. Okay, so I think we came to an end of the session. Like today, we saw about .NET Core. Yeah, I think that was two quick sessions. I hope you got something about some idea about .NET Core. Like so we as I said in the beginning, we conduct events every month. Like you can also join our meetup group. Like it's a meetup.com/talklify community. Like you can see all the upcoming events and all the past events we are conducting. You can also we have 174 members in this group. You can join this group by clicking this button, and you will get instant updates about our future events. Like you can just join our group to get instant updates. And I have one more announcement. Like so Azure Community Conference. So from Microsoft and all the India MVPs, like they are they're gathering together to organize the India's largest Azure Community Conference. So it is happening between 24th to 26th on November. Like we have awesome line of speakers, and we have Scott as the keynote speaker, and we have some good number of lineup speakers, and also we have um, good number of speakers with it's a 3 day 2 day conference. And also we have a third day which has some beautiful workshops. You can just go and register yourself. I think this is a good opportunity to learn many things, and it also has a detailed agenda on this website. So the website is azconf.dev, and you can just go and view. And if it's helpful for you, you can just click register, and it will ask for the respective details, and you can just register for this conference. I think there are more good number of speakers. Maybe it will be it will be a good start if you want to know about Azure, what's happening in Azure, etc. So this is azconf.dev, and one more announcement is ng Kerala. Like as I said, we also have a community for Angular called ng Kerala. So we are planning to conduct an Angular virtual conference on 2021 January. Um, till now there is no. So the site is under it's under preparation. So we have a plan to conduct this kind of virtual conference. So if you want to know what's happening around Angular, so what's something new in Angular, you can also Just book your date on January 23, like it's 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. IST. So we have around 7 to 8 sessions, and yeah, we'll be thrilled to attend this. So once to follow the updates, like you can just go into our Meetup group and you can just click join. You'll get the updates of this conference via your email. Um, yeah, I think those are all the updates today. So if you want to join Meetup group, you can just go to meetup.com/Talklify community. Yeah, so thanks everyone. Thanks for joining on the Saturday. Thanks for spending your time to learn something new. Yeah, take care everyone. Thank you. Bye.